Apple presents events at the Apple Store. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this evening's guest moderator, critic for New York Mag, from CBS Sunday Morning and NPR's Fresh Air, David Edelstein.
Thank you. I feel like I'm introducing the Beatles. I'm so thrilled and honored. Before I just want to tell you, I've been in as a film critic for a long time, and it used to be 10, 15 years ago, we used to laugh at the TV critics. We used to be so smug. We used to think, you know, they had to review the crap, and we got all the plum assignments. And now they walk around incredibly smug because while I'm reviewing some $200 million Marvel franchise superhero installment, they get to write about one of the greatest shows in the history of television, Breaking Bad. But now I get to introduce the guy who, in the new really good book by Brett Martin called Difficult Men, is the one showrunner of a great show who is a not difficult man, and that is Vince Gilligan. And I've long dreamed of saying this. It's Aaron Paul, bitches! Last but not least, the man under the Heisenberg mask, the man who knocks. And watch out for your children and your wives. Bryan Cranston.
Hey. Thanks for coming.
Okay, I don't know about you guys, but this has been the slowest building cult phenomenon in the history of television. You began as a very well-reviewed, well-respected show. You racked up a few Emmys. But how do you account for this insanity, this love? I understand Mark Johnson emailed me that in Iceland on the street, people are wearing Heisenberg T-shirts. In Europe, you guys are a sensation. What happened, and what does it say about the medium and the new way that we experience television, that you guys are now at kind of the apex of this wave?
We're in the empire business. I don't know. I think it's a testament to Vince Gilligan and the quiet genius that he is. And I was first introduced to that 10 years ago when I guest starred on a one episode of X-Files. And he wrote this brilliant character. And the nuanced character that he wrote was so intriguing and so delicate. And laid the groundwork for this anti-hero of Walter White. But it's really him. He's the guy. He and his staff have created this environment that is both toxic and attractive at the same time. And what's happened is that not only do we witness, incredibly conflicted drama in the show, but he's been able to instill that incredibly conflicted drama in the viewers, in the fans of the show. Because wait, am I supposed to like him? I don't like him. I don't know what I'm feeling. And it's pulling you in. And it's a beautiful thing in an ugly way.
Would you say that you'd like that on your tombstone? He was a beautiful thing in an ugly way?
Oh, yes. That would be a very good tombstone indeed. And, not just because we're here in the Apple Store, but not to blow a little smoke Apple's way, but I think the iTunes, the availability of Breaking Bad on iTunes and on Netflix and all these various platforms of video on demand that exist now that have not existed for too long now, are another reason that the show, I'm proud as hell of this show, and I'm proud as hell of these two gentlemen who've really made this what it is. They and the other cast have just really, all the good reasons to watch the show aside, this new technology coming online at about season 2 or thereabouts, coming on in earnest, really. I think is one of the reasons we're here today, that we're able to be here, and that we didn't get canceled around about season 2 or 3 for lack of viewers. The ability for people to instantly catch up with what is a very hyper-serialized show. All credit, or a great deal of that credit has to be given to this new technology.
And our, badass fans. They just,
Yes.
They just love talking about the show. They love introducing people to the show. It's fun to talk about. So thank you all.
Vince, one of the worst evenings of my television watching life was actually the last 2 hours of Battlestar Galactica, which was not just bad, it was retroactively bad. It seemed to wipe out the good that was in the entire 5 years leading up to that. Lost was almost as bad. The Sopranos threw us a little bit, but on balance, I'd say they did pretty well. You have a last episode coming up. You have a final arc. That's a lot of pressure, man, because we're so invested.
You're not helping any, man.
Just don't fuck it up.
Yeah, no, that you are correct. It's a great deal of pressure, and it's a great deal of pressure for the wonderful fans of the show who've been with us since day one, and who have, and for the fans who have not necessarily been with us since day one, but who have embraced the show, having caught up on it. Some folks having caught up on it very quickly in the course of a weekend.
David Blaine watched the entire show without sleeping. He actually did. He did it in one, no joke.
That's his next trick.
That's his next. Yeah, he did it in one sitting without sleeping.
Was he encased in a block of ice?
I'm sure he was, but yeah.
Well, that's
It's true.
I think he had some of Heisenberg's product there, maybe to help him. I bet his house. No, I've known people who've done that, and they come up with the jitters. It's a rush.
You mean trying the product or watching the show?
Probably both, I think. But no, the show gives you a rush, and it does divide you. So Breaking Bad. I'd never heard the phrase Breaking Bad before the show. I guess the only thing I can compare it to is, in The Sopranos, there was a famous episode in the first season where Tony Soprano, who we've very much liked, murders a man in cold blood that he sees in Maine. And it was a sort of a rat who was in the witness protection program. It was a huge turning point in how we looked at protagonists, in series like this, who we loved, who we identified with. For me, I was with Walt through all the killings, all the meth manufacturing, even maybe even the murder of Gail. But it was when he watched Jane choke to death on her own vomit and didn't intercede that I thought, whoa, this is something I've never seen on television before. Now we have to look at that guy. What was that like for you to do? And what kind of discussions were there? Because that was a momentous scene.
Do you want to start that, or do you want to?
You can.
Well, I'll talk about before it came to the point of Bryan acting it, which I was lucky enough to have been there for, and that was not always the case. I very often was not in Albuquerque when we were shooting. More's the pity, as far as I'm concerned, because I had such a good time watching the show get shot. But
your writer's room is in L.A.
Writer's room was in Burbank, California, 800 miles away, and that was the most important place I could be. But that is a very good example of honestly, the only example of a moment in time where the network and the studio called me up and said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Or rather, to be precise, they said, "Are you sure you want to do this soon into the run of the series?" Because they were on board with the idea of Breaking Bad being what I had pitched them, which was taking a good guy, turning him into a bad guy, or rather he, by sheer force of his own will, descends down a path of criminality and becomes darker and darker episode by episode. Having said that, when that particular episode came along, we were only probably 18, 19 episodes into the run of the whole series. The run of the series ultimately, though we did not know it at the time, destined to be 62 episodes. So we weren't even a third of the way through. And that was a very dark moment indeed. And the powers that be said, "Are you sure you want to do this quickly?" And they, to their credit, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm nervous too." But to their credit, we discussed it, and then we went ahead and did it.
It was one of those times when I read a script and went, "Holy shit." Because we knew we were going down the path, but when you're talking about a subjective issue, it differs with every person. So in the initial draft, it had Walt sitting on the bed, distraught about what's become of him, and he looks at this girl, and she starts to choke, but she's on her side, and Walt takes her shoulder, almost as a caress, and then pushes her back. So he's directly culpable with the murder, so he pushes her on her back so that she would choke to death. And the network and the studio went, "Wait a minute! Wait, no. So we talked and talked and talked about it, but Vince came up with a great solution. And this is truly where the collaboration of studio and network and the creators got together and for the betterment of the show. And it turned out that it would be an accident, but that he would have to make that omission, that act of omission, in order for her to die. So as it turned out, he's shaking Jessie, and she is jostled by it and falls back on her back, but he did not do that. Then when he notices her choking, he initially, impulsively, goes to help. And by the time he circles the bed to go help, he realizes, wait a minute. This is the woman who is blackmailing me, and if she lives, then she is going to do that, and that's not good for me, and that's not bad. And then I look at her again, but she's a little girl. She's a young, she could be my daughter. Look at her, she's innocent, But she just got Jesse on heroin, and she's going to kill him if I let her, So he's going back and forth with this panic of what to do. And then we start to see her go. And then he's overcome with grief and sorrow for a moment of, what have I done? I've become inhuman. I've become cold. And then she goes. And then there was one more moment that we wanted to pull out, and that is, get over it.
What a dick. But you know what's so sad about this whole thing? I mean, it's obviously such an intense thing for Bryan to get into, just that headspace. The moment they said cut on that scene, we all had to get together to do our cast and crew photo, which is.
And I'm weeping.
He's weeping, and he's just trying to pull together, but it just took over him. But it's beautiful work, my friend, beautiful work.
Vince, I think just listening to Bryan describe the beats, the kind of dramatic beats, the psychological beats of that moment, confirms to me the genius of your casting him and the genius of the performance. You've said that he's somebody who can be a bad guy and yet at the same time be somebody who draws you in emotionally in everything he does. And I guess in the way he anatomizes a moment like that would be the key.
Absolutely correct. And the shame of it is we shoot on 35 millimeter film, which is one of the last shows ever to do that, which picks up, no offense to HD video, but it picks up damn near everything that any photographic medium could pick up. I was there behind the camera watching. I was not directing. I just happened to be in a very prime spot watching. And I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you, there was stuff. There were nuances that even the camera did not pick up that day. There were things that I saw, being blessed to watch it happen in real life, what was going on in Bryan's face, that I didn't see in the final product, the final filmed version of it. And as good as the final film version was, and I think you folks can attest to that, there was something more still. It was electric being in the room. I don't talk that way normally, but it really was. It it was fascinating to watch the power that Bryan's performance had, particularly in that moment. It was I'd never seen anything like it.
Jesse, you get.
I get it all the time. Yeah, bitch. It's all right.
Mr. Paul.
Yes, Mr. Paul.
You have to act complete credulousness where Mr. White is concerned, and I wonder how now he's done a lot of terrible things. He's poisoned a kid.
He lived.
Well, you did kill Mike. Mike didn't survive. At a certain point, Jesse has become. You have become the moral center of the show in a certain way, and I wonder, as an actor, how do you maintain that sort of beautiful obliviousness?
I have no idea. I mean, it's all in it's, like Bryan was saying, it's all because of our fearless leader over here, Vince Gilligan, and the brilliant staff of writers we have. We are so blessed on a weekly basis. I mean, we all know there hasn't been a shitty episode of Breaking Bad ever. And the final 8 are just... I can't wait for you guys to see it, because you all know...
Well, we're here if you want to...
Yeah, I'll tell you. What do you guys want to know?
Roll tape.
Yeah. Each season, as any fan of Breaking Bad knows, Breaking Bad gets progressively darker. And the final 8 hours of this TV show is just such a violent, brutal sprint. But I love you, Vince. We all love you, Vince. It's on the page, and so I'm just lucky enough to be so closely involved with this show, to play Jesse. I love him.
Well, Vince, you have in your mind Walter White and Jesse Pinkman. You cast Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul. At what point did Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul, how far did they move in? How far did Walter White and Jesse Pinkman move till they met in the middle? Do you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. It's a very good question, and this is a wonderfully collaborative medium, and that is a very exciting thing to me. Television. I mean, movies are too, but television especially, because it goes on hopefully for years on end. The stuff I wrote, if you went back and read that pilot episode, was the one and only time I was working on this show by myself. I'm proud of that pilot episode, but there was so much lacking in it. There's so much missing from it. There were nuances to Walt's character, to Jesse's character, that not in a million years of writing alone in a room by myself could I have come up with on my own. It's the product of first and foremost these gentlemen and who they are. It's a product of working with other writers. It's a product of working with the entire crew. Same goes for a character like Hank, played by Dean Norris. The character in that first episode, the only time I worked on this show by myself, was a very different character than what he became. And first and foremost, it was getting to know that man, that actor. So this is the wonderful thing about television as a collaborative medium, and it what's the old expression? I mean, it's synergy, which was a big word in Hollywood a few years ago. But the idea that the sum is equal to more than the arithmetical total of the parts, and it really synergy as far as like big corporations and whatnot goes. I don't know if that works, but it certainly does on a TV series.
Can you be specific about, say, Aaron, about how he changed the character, how the character evolved with him in the role?
Well, the best example, a lot of you guys have probably heard it before, but I'll say it again because it is the best example, is I was going to kill the character off. That was my plan.
Damn. What a dick.
But the original plan I had, in that brief period working by myself on this thing, I thought of Jesse Pinkman being Walter White's entree into the world of criminality, and once he had fulfilled that purpose, that was his purpose. There wasn't really anything more for him to accomplish, And at that point, he would die very horribly. And
Are we talking about season 1?
yeah, that was my original plan for the end of season 1.
And it wasn't even going to be like the cliffhanger, right? It was just towards the end.
You know, it might have been. You might have made it to the end of the season.
Okay.
But and you know, this is the problem. Sometimes it derives from when you work by yourself. This was a situation where I was thinking in sort of logistical terms. I was thinking mechanically. Hank Schrader, you know, in that first episode exists to be everything Walter on paper, to exist to be everything Walter White is not. Jesse Pinkman exists on paper to get Walt into the world of illegal drugs, and then FO, you know, Amscray, and that drives, or would have in an alternate reality, drives Walt to be very guilt-ridden, and then to go out and seek revenge. And so the good answer to the question, you know, what did Aaron Paul bring to the role of Jesse Pinkman is he was so damn good in the role that I knew by halfway through episode 1 that there's no way I was going to cut off my nose to spite my face. There's no way I was going to kill off this character. At least not then.
Okay, so
Shouldn't have said that.
Thank God that didn't happen. Thank you for keeping
least
me
not
around.
yet.
Back then.
Yeah.
I just want to pin you down a little bit. Was it that he was so beautifully, gorgeously dopey and innocent, and you know, and just so wonderfully credulous, and still referring to, after all these years, to Mr. White? And what specifically did you respond to in this guy and their relationship?
He's just a star. Look at this guy. He's just look at both these guys.
I think the charm.
Well, listen, a lot of guys out there can be charming. A lot of guys can be dopey. I know I can. You know, so there's got to be more to it than that. But you know, it sounds like a love fest up here. One of these, like, you know, blowing smoke, you know, at each other. But the real truth of it is when you have actors this good. And the answer is it's the whole package. It's the ability to play just an incredibly wide range of emotions, play them all credibly, play the highest highs and the lowest lows, play the dopey moments, play the more importantly than the dopey moments, because a lot of people honestly can do dopey. Play the affecting moments, play them without going for the maudlin or the pathos rather than the bathos of it all. You know, just being authentic, just knowing how to do it innately. And you got two guys, these two guys up here. We're lucky to have other actors as well in our ensemble who are also just wonderfully authentic and talented, and folks that you'd be foolish as a showrunner to not make proper use of and to get rid of too soon, if at all.
There's also a component that, I mean, Aaron is a brilliant actor, and he's never lazy. He is always all in. He's always willing to work, and we discovered that in the pilot episode. And what Vince then discovered is that, wow, putting these two characters, keeping them together, created an oil and water situation, which allowed for Vince and us to play the natural humor that came out. And the humor was so germane to the character situation. It was never jokey. There was never, Walter White has never thought that anything that's been going on the last 2 years had any sense of humor to it whatsoever. But it's just the incredulousness that he looks at poor Jesse Pinkman in his delicious ignorance. Is that what you said? And shake his head. And so they were an oil and water mix. And I think, Vince, you saw that early on and were able to make it naturally happen.
Bryan, you just really thrilled the Comic-Con audience by, if you guys don't know this, making an appearance wearing a Heisenberg mask and mingling with the audience, and then going up on stage and taking it off to show that you walked among them. What was interesting to me, apart from the fact that it was so cool, was that Walter White has been wearing that mask on the series for at least the last season. In fact, what we've seen in the last season is the Heisenberg mask has supplanted the face. I'm wondering if you agree with that, and if you also, in the last 8 episodes, I know you can't spoil anything, we see Walter White and Heisenberg, maybe Walter White rising a little bit, or if you think that mask has firmly taken hold.
Well, it's very interesting because I looked at it as a Walter White mask. Because the talisman that Walt found in the pork pie hat was incredibly important for him, and we talked about transitions and passages as we go. Where are we at in telling this story and the transition, the metamorphosis of Walter White? And there's a couple nuanced things that have happened in the course of the show, and some of them didn't get any play at all, but it's important to us. And I think it sets a subliminal tone to the audience. And one of them was when, season 3 maybe, when he was told that his cancer is in remission and he's going to grow his hair back. And yet he purposefully shaves his head still. And that, to me, was a big moment because he is then accepting, embracing who he is now, and so in some ways celebrating it. But I think Walt needed Heisenberg. I don't think he had the courage, the gumption to be able to pull off what he needed to pull off just by having a bald head. He needed that hat. He needed those glasses, and it felt different when I put it on. My shoulders went back, my posture was more erect, and my chest was out. Not dissimilar from what happens in a bar fight. You know, he was in a bar fight. He needed to have a little more power to him. You see 2 guys go at it, what happens? The first thing they do is they throw their chest out. Just like in nature, you see birds do that, and animals making themselves look bigger. And that's what Walt needed. He needed to feel like he was bigger. He needed to look bigger and feel bigger. And that's where Heisenberg came in.
Not to be reductive, but did a lot of that come from losing the woman he loved and being deprived of this enormous fortune, something that simmered within him all those years and that finally burst out in this new creation, this combination of Walt and Heisenberg?
Well, yes. I mean, that's certainly a component to it. But as much as Vince and the writers laid in the foundation of the building blocks of this character, I just kept grabbing them and taking them. So in the beginning, you see this poor schlub who is turning 50. He's overweight. He's pasty. He's got no color to his skin. He sees a sea of apathy in his students. Nobody gives a shit about learning chemistry. He then gets embarrassed at his second job that he needs because of his special needs son, and and all these things add up, and that's the hook. He baited that hook, and he just dangled it out for the audience to see, and they went, oh! They grabbed on it, and everyone said, "That poor son of a bitch. I care about him, and he wants to do right, and he's a milquetoast, but he wants to do one thing in his life that was bold, that was risky, and he took that. And so every little thing was a pull from then on. And then, as Vince says a lot, talking about the Schwartzes, Gretchen and Elliot, and how they offered to pay for my treatment, and another turning point there. And almost like you're trying to spit the hook, but you can't anymore. And he says, no. He says, fuck you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take your charity. I'm going to do this on my own. And so all of a sudden we see a glimpse of ego and hubris that is starting to emerge. And you start to see the change in this man. It's just fascinating. It's really a sociological study to me.
I think I just realized why we love him, even as vile as he's become, because he is a classic existential hero. He is somebody who has created him, who creates himself anew every day. You guys have been, you two have been incredible Emmy hogs in the last couple of years. Man, you just... I don't really have an intelligent question. I just want to say, wow, that's so amazing. What was it like, or what's it been like to get that level of attention for what was a very had a very small audience at a certain point?
It's awesome. No, it's. I mean, it's just. It's an embarrassment of riches, really. I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's just we're so lucky to work in this business because we just love acting so much. But then on top of that, we're so lucky to be involved in something that we're so proud of, and then on top of it, other people are really excited about it as well, and then the accolades are just, I mean, it's just so bizarre. We're going to work every single day. I mean, we catch ourselves just kind of laughing because it's not fair. It's really not. I mean, this show is so, we know that this show is so special, and we have a front row seat to the entire thing, and so it's phenomenal. So again, Vince, I love you. Thank you so much.
Bryan, Bryan, everybody in the world agrees on you, on your performance. Everybody, maybe not John Hamm, but it's been an
we were at the Emmys last year, and who won? Someone won. I didn't win.
It was Damian
Lewis. So Damian Lewis wins, and I was presenting. So I go backstage, and in the green room, waiting to be brought in to make an announcement, and John Hamm comes up to me, and he says, "It gets easier."
What a class act. He does have more endorsements than you do, though, I think. Actually, that reminds. I just want to say one thing. I'm a film critic, right? So I don't really get to write about you, but I do see a lot of your performances with hair on in various big budget movies, and in Drive you had a really wonderful complex role. And if I may say, you died beautifully. But I often find myself, maybe this pisses the hell out of you, going like, well, Bryan Cranston is in it, he's a general, or he's a bureaucrat, he has hair. When is this guy going to get a movie role that shows his incredible stature? I don't know, is that on the horizon, I hope?
To echo Aaron's comments earlier, this is the greatest experience of our lives. This is the greatest role I've had in my life. And if everything ended today and the opening line of our eventual obituary is, Breaking Bad actors die in a plunge off the Brooklyn Bridge, so be it. We'll be very proud of that. Anything you gain beyond being able to make a living in this business is gravy. It's just gravy. No one owes you anything. The business doesn't owe you anything. Life doesn't owe you anything. Whatever comes along. So I'm very, I loved my role in Argo, and I had because it's about story, and so that's what first attracted me to this. It's about the story. So it's not about the character. In fact, to me, when I judge projects, it's about story first, the script second. Does the script support the story? And then it's the character. What's so special about the character? Is it integral to the plot? Is it important? And then on from there. But I decided, I didn't want to do anything that competes with this, and I just, the fan reaction to Breaking Bad and the zeitgeist, if you will, of what's happened with this is so big that I need to step back. I need to step away for a while. I think it's become too ubiquitous of me to be front and center. So I'm very excited. I did take a role that I'm going to be doing a play. I'm going to be playing Lyndon Johnson in a play, which is this guy is wow. He's like King Lear. And so I'm very excited to be able to change the philosophy. And the actors in the group know this, is that the process of rehearsing a play and doing film and television work is really the polar opposite of each other. So I'm looking forward to doing that process.
In New York? Or?
I'm going to be doing it in Boston. I'm going to do it at ART.
At the ART? Oh, excellent.
Mid-September to mid-October. So come on out and see it.
And are you guys, I really am going to get to you, are you guys just being proactive about looking for roles? Do you have production companies yet? Are you affiliated with any? I mean, you have a co-producer credit on Breaking Bad. Are you doing anything behind the scenes to generate better material and to support great filmmakers?
Yes. Well, I have a television production deal with Sony Television, our studio, and that's developing nice. I have 4 projects in various degrees of development, and we'll see how that progresses. So I'm interested in that end to nurture the next generation of writer into whatever that may be, and it's not doing something for me to star in, but just looking for the next great story.
Do you want to hire me in something?
I might consider it.
Yeah.
Are you looking actively?
Yeah. I mean, whoever will have me. Yeah.
I think you can.
Oh yeah. I've been working. Random. I went to a job directly. Actually, it was such a sad story. I had the privilege of working on the final day of shooting. We were actually shooting a scene from a previous episode.
Careful.
What? All right. No, we were shooting a scene from a previous episode. They had to save. They saved it to the final day. I'm not gonna say what it is. What a dick. Anyways, we all got matching tattoos at the end of the day. We did. It was great. And then I got on a plane that night and started the next day on a film. But it was
It's a nice problem to have.
It is a nice problem. But I landed at this small little airport in the middle of nowhere, outside of Mendocino, California, and no one was there. The airport was closed. No one was there to pick me up, and I was in the rain, literally in the rain for 2 hours. It's so sad that the show was over, and then now I'm going to this other job that no one even cares to pick me up, and it was. I'm like, what is happening with my life? I'm just staring at my new tattoo, rubbing it, saying, "I miss you, Bryan."
Is that what your tattoo says? I miss you, Bryan?
Yeah, it says I miss you, Bryan, here.
No, what are the matching tattoos?
Well, not matching, actually.
They're not matching, but they're the Breaking Bad related tattoos. A lot of people on our crew got no half measures, which I got, and then Bryan.
I can't show you where my tattoo is. But it was painful.
His says BRB.
It says Albuquerque.
Oh my God. Wow.
And that Albuquerque is such a great character on the show too. The sense of place and the skyline and the clouds. Vince, recently Sony released an interactive digital multi-touch book exclusively on the iBookstore called Breaking Bad Alchemy.
It's called Breaking Bad Alchemy, and it is I think there's some footage not footage, but it's this very interesting 21st century book that you scroll through on your iPad and you touch the different characters and different bits of video come up, different exclusive interviews, different exclusive audio interviews, and it was a lot of fun to work on. It's just I am very impressed by the technology, and the neat thing about it is that it's like buying a book that will continue to get updated as different editions come out. You plug it in, and different versions update onto your iPad. And we are indeed living in the future. And I've had a lot of fun playing with it. It's got underpants on it that you tap, and then you can rotate them around. There's nice. I don't know why you need to do that, but I think it's completely awesome. It's got the Heisenberg hat. You can flip it around in every possible direction. It's this 3D model that is pretty amazing, and then it's got this cool chapter toward the end, we had these challenge coins that I would make up for the crew. They were these sort of commemorative coins I'd give to our crew at the end of every season to commemorate working on the show. And we got a whole chapter just about them. And so it's got a lot of inside baseball stuff if you're a fan. And the folks who created it did a wonderful job, and I would recommend checking it out.
I mean, if you're a fan of the show, it's definitely going to give you some, new information about it. So it's great.
Yeah, it's got it's like 100 pages long.
And after each episode
it's actually
airs,
very cool.
it gets updated.
New stuff
with
pops up. Yeah, it's very cool. We're living in the future. Like I say,
Yeah.
it's like Star Trek land or something.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
And now, what you've been waiting for.
Hi. I have a question for Vince, and this has been something that's burning in my gut all summer. After I found out that Mr. Cranston's script was stolen out of his car, I found myself really upset thinking that as a result you had to go back and rewrite certain things or reshoot certain things, and that we're not getting the ending that you had originally intended for us. So I have to know if this is the real ending or if this is like a plan B.
All he had to change was that Jesse was going to get a sex change operation. We had to adjust that idea a little
He
bit.
always talks about this. It's true.
Bless your heart for asking. We really
Bastard.
it was we really did not go backward. The ending you're going to see is the ending that we always intended. That was one of the earlier episodes. You were up doing. You were on. It was a weekend, and you were being a good guy. You were scouting. You were like for free on the weekend, scouting locations, helping us find a spot to shoot something. And Jagoff breaks into your car.
Yeah, there was an idea that we actually used in a certain location, and so I wanted to go up and take a look at it and take some pictures, and I wasn't gone 5 minutes, and someone busted in my car and just took my stuff. Awful.
Awful.
But
He's dead now.
Luckily, they.
They actually caught the guy, right? They caught the guy.
They did catch him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they caught the guy.
He was trying to sell the script at a strip club in the middle of the afternoon. No joke, true story.
It was actually about 10:30 in the morning in a
What an
strip
idiot.
club.
Oh my God.
I don't get
That's
there
how
until
we caught
noon.
him, yeah.
I just,
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
Otherwise, you're a loser if you're in a strip club before noon.
Yeah.
Hi. First of all, the show is just completely amazing. You guys are so incredibly talented. Second of all, in the world of criminality and drugs and everything in between that Vince Gilligan has created, has the drug world been more exploited or romanticized in the show?
I don't think it's been romanticized at all.
Yeah, there's with enough, the lady choking to death on her own vomit, that was kind of romantic.
It was,
Tell me more.
No, it's a good question. I think we have endeavored to be as authentic as possible. I say that as the most boring, non-drug using person who ever lived. Right? How I came to be running a show like this is kind of a story unto itself and strange. But I entered this thing sort of from Walter White's point of view, which is he didn't know a darn thing about the drug business, and neither did I. And I learned as I went, as he learned as he went. And I think. You're always looking for moments of showmanship. You're always looking for drama. You're always looking to, lack of a better way to put it, keep people watching, keep their thumbs from hitting that remote and changing to another channel. But I think we've tried to keep it as authentic as possible and not romanticize it. I would hope that no one would ever watch our show and say, "Man, that meth looks like some good stuff. I got to try some of that," because that would be.
And in truth, I don't think anyone would want to change places with Walter White. I mean, this bastard's on a slippery slope. I mean, he's going to hell. That's no question about it. You know what I mean? So even though you see that, but that's not a good trade.
If I can just add in here, since Bonnie and Clyde, at least in '67, people have debated whether or not if you have attractive or likable people committing crimes, does that romanticize it sufficiently that people are going to imitate it? And I think that Vince Gilligan has really moved the boundary posts here, pushing that about as far as it could creatively go, and morally and philosophically go.
Well, it's an interesting thing. I think about movies all the time that I love. I was using this example last night. Scarface is a movie I love very much. It's very operatic. It's very bigger than life. Al Pacino's great in it. I mean, he's just fun to watch. I'll watch that movie anytime it comes on. I love watching Al Pacino play Scarface. If Tony Montana was a real guy, I would run screaming from him. I would cross the street to avoid him. It's funny how we embrace. I mean, I'll speak for myself. It's funny how I embrace fictional characters who are bad people indeed, and I want to watch their exploits. And yet, if they were real people, I'd stay the hell away from them. It's funny how we our fiction in that sense does not intersect with our lives particularly, but I guess we get I don't know, I'm no expert on it, but I guess we get a visceral thrill from watching at a safe remove these people live lives that we would either be too afraid to live or too repulsed to live or what have you.
Hi, this is a question for Bryan. So I'm curious, since you became a producer on the show and then also directed a couple of episodes, how that affected the time and energy you could put towards being an actor on the show, and if that changed for you in a positive way or in a challenging way.
Well, as an actor, I always give 40%, no matter what. I do. I just give it my all. And except on ice cream day. Then I go 65. I think it's one of those things where if I've always been interested in directing, and I directed a little movie that I wrote 13 years ago. And it was one of those things where I had the opportunity, so just throw your hat in the ring. If you're a type of person on the set where you're going, why is he setting up the camera there? Why is that? If you're kind of wondering and curious about it, you either have to do it or shut up. Stop talking about it or do it. And so I was able to throw my hat in the ring and try to convince Vince that I could do it and I wanted to do it. I directed the first episode that you'll see coming back for this last 8. And it was great fun. And then producing is also an extension of that. You're still telling stories in various ways. And so in my case, leading the cast, making sure the cooperation and the communication was clean, and the relationship with the crew, and keeping everybody happy and everybody going well. And then in post-production, going out and promoting, being the face of the show and doing that internationally, and rah-rah, that sort of thing.
I got to say, I love it whenever he directs the episode, because you kind of get a peek inside of his head, like his process in a way, when he gives the actors notes or whatever. But you should talk to them about what you wore as a director the first day. The first day when he was directing the show, he comes in full costume. Like, he has a monocle in his eye. He has a little horse whip that he would hit us with. He didn't really hit us, but
boots and jodhpurs.
Yeah, I mean, he was really. Yeah. It was fantastic.
Now, where do you find jodhpurs nowadays?
You'll find them. That's our wonderful costume designer, who can help you find those things. But it's one of those things, when especially when you're directing TV, you don't have time. You want to keep it light. You don't have time to really explore where the characters would naturally go or time. So you basically apologize and say, I have an idea of blocking. Let me tell you what it is and see if it works for you. And then present that, and then the actors seem to try to adjust to it. And if it adjusts, fine, you're in. If it doesn't, then you have to take the time to figure out, because the most important thing is to make sure the actors are comfortable. If they're comfortable, they'll perform well. If they're not, they won't. So greeting guest stars who come on the show was out of kindness, just to say welcome, because I've been in that position before, but also to make sure that they start to feel comfortable. Because if they're comfortable, they'll perform better, and it helps the show.
Hello.
Hello.
So my question is for Bryan and Aaron. As actors, what was the process like in developing your characters, both physically and psychologically?
I just do what Vince tells me to do. You know, I really it's really so on the page with this particular job. I mean, Bryan said this so many times before. You can make great writing great, but mediocre writing, you can't really do anything.
I don't think I ever said that.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do truly feel that I kind of did live and breathe everything that Jesse went through, but I kind of just, memorize my lines and just kind of show up and.
Oh, he's being modest. No, he was very much committed to developing that character and what seems like the simplicity of Jesse Pinkman, but he's really, right? I mean, on the surface of it, but he's emotionally deep. Whereas I think the nice contrast is that when I first started looking into what Walter White was, and I look for the emotional core of a character, because I can then hold on to that. That's something I can grab onto and know. For instance, when I did Hal on Malcolm in the Middle, his core emotion. Yeah. But his core emotion was fear. He was afraid of everything. Everything scared him. Being a bad father, heights, spiders, anybody walking in on him, he would just, and so that gave me an opportunity to hold on. You know what I mean? So then the writers start writing toward that, and so now I'm looking for Walter White, and I can't find him. I don't know where he is. I can't find, how does he operate on a day-to-day basis? What's his emotion? And I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm reading and I can't, it's not coming to me. And then all of a sudden, someone was mentioning, I don't know if we were talking about someone else, but someone talked about depression. And it clicked. And I went, oh my God, that's it. I can't see it because he's depressed. He's so depressed that he's calloused over his emotions. He doesn't even know what he feels. He's gone to seed. He was too heavy. He was all those things. The color was out of his skin. His clothes were the same color as the wall. He was invisible to himself and to society. And so we started working on that. We knew we were going to shave my head when the cancer started coming in, and that was going to make adjustments. And as far as physicality, I thought of my dad. My dad is now 89 years old. And naturally has his shoulders hunch over. But I thought Walter White should hunch over too, the weight of Walt. So there's a lot of that posture from him as he looks up. It's like his head is too heavy, and his shoulders are rounded. So you feel the weight on him, and that felt right. And then when I go into Heisenberg, boom, back it goes. So you want to be specific in creating those things so that it's not just an accident or random.
It was your idea, the mustache. I loved the way you described it. That was not written in. That was you described it as a dead caterpillar on your upper lip. That's what you wanted. So the hair folks dyed it.
Yeah, it was. I also describe it as an impotent mustache. So I didn't know what that meant, but I wanted people to look at a mustache and think, why bother? What are you doing? So I had to thin it, and for men who want to know how to have an impotent mustache, if anybody, show of hands. Yeah. Oh, really? There's some few. You can't have any hair drop down below the crease of the lips. It can't drop there, because once it drops past that, it starts to get nasty. So it's got to cut there, and you got to thin it, and then we lightened the mustache as well, till the point where it's just like, ugh. And then, through a happy accident, we found the most menacing look a man could possibly have, and that is a bald head and facial hair. Because hair softens a look. it's like a frame of a picture. You put hair on and it softens anyone's look. So to take the hair away, but to grow facial hair for some reason, it's pretty intimidating.
And then one last, I loved how you showed up on the pilot or in pre-production the week or two before. You said, I think Walt wants to be about 183 or 178. What was the number?
186.
186. Because you said at that point that's where I get a little doughy, I get a little muffin toppy, and and damned if you didn't show up like a damn boxer. You showed up like at the weigh-in at the boxing match. You showed up right at the weight you said you were going to hit.
Oh, that was fun. Eat cheesecake? Sure. Give me cheese. Yeah. Pasta. Bring it on. Yeah. But then I lost 16 pounds when we were doing the sequences where we're under chemotherapy, and that's it. So anyway.
May I say, Vince Gilligan, that is not an impotent mustache that you're wearing. That's a manly mustache. By the way, that turned out to be a wonderful question. Thank you. I just want to end by reading again from Brett Martin's book when he talks about Vince Gilligan. This is a book that talks about David Chase and David Simon and other people, and Matthew Weiner of Mad Men, and other people who have done brilliant things on television, but have not always been the easiest person to work with. The sets are very high pressure. This is what Brett Martin said. Vince Gilligan is someone who managed to balance the vision and microscopic control of the most autocratic showrunner with the open and supportive spirit of the most relaxed. I believe that you can feel that as unsavory as the material is, that's generosity of spirit, that wonderful open generosity of spirit is in every frame of this show and in the people indeed that he cast in it. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you guys. Thank you, Apple.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.